Salute everybody, JG1 Luftritter here with a short video about response curves in Rise of Flight. Had gotten a question from Joe Cassi about some of this stuff, and I thought it best to make a little video and show how some of these things work in Rise of Flight. So his question was how to put files that you get from somebody else into your own game. Well, if somebody had given you files, you could download them and you would likely have a folder filled with those files, hopefully on your desktop or your downloads somewhere, and you would extract them so that you would end up with a bunch of files. And then what you would do is open that folder and select everything and copy it. And so what you would need to do with it in the game is you would go into the file manager. Now you don't want to have your game running when you're doing with the stuff. You don't want to mess around with files while your game is on. So you need to go to the Windows File Manager. If you don't have a shortcut to it, you can find it in the Start menu up here, and you'll see File Explorer. So the files you're interested are located here. You find your game folder, 177, Rise of Flight, and most everything you're going to mess around with is going to be in the data folder. And you're looking for one called input, and here it is. So what you'll find in here is files for all your controls, but also there are response files for every airplane in Rise of Flight. So assuming that the person had renamed the files with something slightly different, like if I was going to make files for somebody, I would probably put a little underscore LR on here or something for Luftritter, so you wouldn't lose your original files. And then you would just right click here and paste it into this folder, and it wouldn't have any conflicts because the file names will all be different. So you would have extra files, probably double the amount of files at least, and that's it. Then you'll be able to see them when you're in the game. So you can close this out, and if we go into the game, you simply have to figure out how to import them. Okay, so we're in the game. Now we're going to talk about the Newport 11 and Newport 17 because we're currently using these planes in Rise of Flight and Flanders in Flames. So of course you pick one of them that you're interested in. Now you're going to have whatever you have, but in order to import it, you would just do that and look in the list. Of course you're looking for the Newport 17 file, and instead of just seeing one like this, you would also see the new file underscore LR or whatever, and you could pick that and hit load. I'm not going to bother doing that because it's already here. And once you do that, you know, you'll see it, but you'll need to apply it, and that will enable everything. So you should be able to look at the different axes, like the big three I call them. You got the roll, and you got the pitch, and the yaw, and you should be able to see, you know, differences. And of course then you can try it out, see how you like it. Things can be adjusted a little bit, you know, if you don't like how the plane works, you say the nose is too low or something, you can shift the curve up or do whatever you want and save it as your own file, or just save the same one and overwrite it. So the theory behind these is, as you can see for the Newport 17, the big one is pitch. And if you look at the center point here, you'll see we're basically at -15. So that drops the nose in hands-off flight. Now most planes I would have adjusted such that if you put the plane on auto level at about 2,000 meters or so with maybe an hour's worth of fuel, and that stuff doesn't make a whole lot of difference, but if you then took the plane off auto level and you didn't have your hands on the stick or the pedals or anything, the plane should pretty much fly level. Now it might, climb and dip a little bit, but that's the general idea. So what that does for you, it makes it much better when you enter turns and stuff. It prevents the plane from stalling out because the nose is pitching up too much when you're trying to turn, and it really changes everything. A plane like this, you'll see that it's desensitized in the middle, like it's very flat. So this is what you need when you're making very fine control movements. If a plane's very sensitive in a turn, you don't want to go into a spin too easily and stuff, so you make the control movements very small so that you can control things like your turn much easier. Other aspects of it, the pitch, that was pitch. We have roll. N17 doesn't roll very well, so what you can do is enhance it. There is no such thing as magic in Rise of Flight where you make the plane do things that other people can't do. It's everybody's control surface moves from neutral to 100%, and you can't really change that. But you can make it get there quicker with movements of your stick. So if you want something to respond faster, you can simply make it get to 100% quicker. And that's what's happening here when we have a dead zone at either end. I basically only have to move my stick, if you look at the red dot, about 65% of the way over, and the game is already deflected 100%. So that's a symmetrical thing for the roll. It helps you in a dogfight if you need to reverse direction and things faster, so you can it enhances that. So that's the whole idea around this. And now for the yaw, you will see it's weird looking. Well, the N17 is a plane that needs a lot of left rudder when you're turning left. It's hard to keep the nose down, and you cannot turn quickly unless you're using a lot of rudder. So you'll see that this part of the curve is linear, like there's no desensitizing of it at all, and it actually has a dead zone at the end, so it gets there a little quicker. So this helps you when you're putting on that left rudder in a left turn. It gets that nose down and it keeps the plane turning well, instead of pitching up and trying to stall and stuff like that. Now you see the right rudder actually is desensitized a little bit. That's because the N17 is a plane that when you go into a right turn, it's easy to get into a spin. Like you'll spin in if you put too much rudder on, so you have to be real careful so you can put your rudder on more slowly and accurately this way. It still goes to 100%, like if you wanted to do some kind of a hammerhead or something, but it does make it much more controllable in a right turn. So that's the whole purpose of an asymmetrical curve like this. Now if we look at the Newport 11, you'll see that its rudder is just completely linear because it doesn't suffer from those types of idiosyncrasies nearly as much. And the roll is also enhanced, but it doesn't have as much of a dead zone, and it's a little more linear. You see that I have smoothing turned on. You know, it just helps the transition here, and of course it simply gets there a little quicker, so it gives you fast response for dogfighting, and it still has good controllability. Now the pitch on a Newport 11 actually needs much more down than the 17, so here we got like 35%. That's our neutral point. So for both of these planes, you're going to find that if you let off the stick and if you're at auto level, the plane's actually going to point down a little bit. And that is kind of a little bit of a cheat to help you turn well without stalling. That just counteracts the tendency of the plane to pitch up its nose and stuff when you're turning hard, and it makes it more controllable. So it's not going to fly perfectly level, but it's going to be a little bit nose down, but it's still going to be very controllable in turns. So again, it's desensitized in the middle, and this is basically what any S-curve does. You still get to 100% at either end of it for slow speed handling, but it gives you that controllability and accuracy and shooting and everything. It's very important. This what I call a cardinal point here. So that's basically it for the 3 axes for these 2 planes, the idea behind them and what they're meant to do, and hopefully a little understanding on how to get them into your game if you choose to get some from somebody else. So that's all I've got. Salute everybody.